if you're in if obscuring yourself when you're in an active threat kind of a situation, if you can't be in your apartment or cottage, is one of the ways that you can protect yourself. So closing the doors, closing the blinds if you're in the classroom. These are the kinds of tips that you can do. Hiding in the corner, because sometimes you might be in a big room. You're going to start to listen and hear these kinds of things from us. So just little drips and drabs. We've got a packed agenda today for the meeting. I would like to, I think, who has something? Philip, why don't you start, because you've got to go, and then we'll kind of go halfway down, and then I'm going to switch to Cameron we'll try to get Cameron going at 1:15. Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Philip Mail. I'm the director of the Health Center. Good afternoon. Oh, I thought I lost it for a minute. I don't have a lot to report today. One thing I am excited to say that we have brought back is the Family Council for the Health Center. We started with a single meeting that involved all levels of care in the Health Center. We'll kind of assess to see if that was adequate or if we need to break that down a little bit. But it's another avenue that we try to continually create so that people can get in touch with us, ask questions, make good suggestions, etc. So we're happy that that's back up and going. The other thing I just wanted to say is I'm going to be a little scarce lately. I am been selected for grand jury. So that's exciting. As anyone who's been on grand jury, you know, you can't talk about it. So the fact that Tom's been indicted, I can't say a word about it. But before I hand over the mic, does anyone have any questions of me or the Health Center or anything I can help you with? All right, stay cool, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bridget Blum, Director of Human Resources. I just want to thank those of you who helped with the blood drive. We had some residents volunteer to help with check-in that day, which was a little unanticipated. We had a plan in place to help people register the day of. Everybody, you know, the appointments were booked and everyone had their time slots. It's just when you got here for check-in, we needed someone to help facilitate that. And so we had a couple of different residents who volunteered very last minute to sit watch. And I really am thankful for that. We had a wonderful turnout for the event itself. And the American Red Cross is very thankful to have Woodland Pond as a partner. The next drive is going to be in late September, October, I believe. So looking forward to that. Are there any questions for me or any concerns that anyone would like to talk about? And if that's the case, I'm going to continue to pass the mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah Leonard, the Resident Services Director. Great to see all of you today. So I just have one announcement, activity related. The Woodland Pond Mental Health and Wellness Task Force will present a panel program of residents discussing the pain and joys of transitioning from the outside world to independent living at Woodland Pond. This is going to be a really interesting panel discussion. I really encourage you all to come. And whether you are brand new to Woodland Pond, are an old timer, or someone in between, please join us on Friday, July 21st at 2 p.m. here in the PAC for a discussion of our transitions. And then on Monday, July 24th at 10 o'clock in the conference room, there'll be a follow-up roundtable discussion about this panel discussion. So please consider coming and joining us for that. Thank you. Oh, any questions? Betsy.
Does that include transition to the health center?
This is just focusing on transitions from the outside community into independent living. All right, next.
Hi, Tom Tango, Director of Plant Operations. I just want to talk about a couple things, and Jason's going to put something up I'll talk about on the screen. All right. HVAC, a couple things. We just hired a new HVAC tech, Johnny. Johnny is a young man, just recently graduated the BOCES program. And he's been on the ground a few days now. So he's learning a little bit about Woodland Pond each day. But so far, everything's looking good and that should work out pretty well. So some of you might be seeing him from time to time. Also HVAC related, we are in the process of changing the HVACs on the 3 wings, north, central, and south. And in a week or two, I'll know some more dates. And like I told you before, when we do it, when the crane comes and picks the units up over the wings, we are going to need to empty the apartments below where the crane is going. That's code, because if the crane, the units are up there. Again, I don't know the exact dates and I don't know exactly what apartments, but I will know all that and I'll get that to you. But when we do, then I'll let you know. Correct. I don't mean furniture. You can leave your furniture alone. I just mean people. Right. And it'll be for maybe like an hour or so. Oh, HVAC stands heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. It means the big air conditioning unit or the heating unit that does the hallways of the wings, right? This not individual apartments, just the hallways. Because some of you know, right now, there's some hallways that are pretty warm because there's no HVAC in some of them. Don't care. Whatever Tuss would rather do. She just asked about would pets have to be vacated? And no, they wouldn't have to be vacated. No. All right, we'll go with any other questions. Yeah.
I was just wondering about the solar collectors for the cottages. When would that?
Good question. We are, and there's going to be a few questions I'm going to get probably, and my answer is going to be the same. We're waiting on parts. The building permit is we have the building permit. The contractor is ready to go, and they're just waiting on various parts of the equipment. They have like 80% of it, but they're just waiting on a few other pieces. Same thing with the big AC units. They have a lot of it. They're just waiting on certain parts of it.
For the dog walkers, a couple of the pet waste stations were destroyed by the snowplows. And I think when we spoke, you were going to replace some of them.
Yes. My belief right now is we're missing one. I could be wrong. And we're going to be getting those along with the bike rack soon. Then I think we might have one that's just not back up yet. Yeah.
We'll come here to Ms. Rosenthal.
When I'm walking around some of the hallways,
Right.
the stairwells, I know in stairwell A, in the south wing,
Right.
there are no numbers for the floors.
Yes. Yeah.
I know I sent you a note, but I don't know if you
Yeah.
got it and when it's going to be done.
I don't want to give you a date, but it'll be soon.
Okay.
Yeah, when they do the solar collectors on the cottages, will they need access to the interiors of the cottages at all?
Probably not, but I don't want to make any definite statements. But I don't see why they would. Although they might not be needing it, but after they do it, I'll be coming in. I just want to make sure they didn't damage anything inside, you know. All right, thank you. Oh. Yeah.
What's the problem with putting solar collectors on the main building?
A couple things. Over the years, we've looked at it numerous times, and the last times we looked at it, the cost to do it far exceeds the benefit of doing it. Due to a lot of reasons, due to the cost of the panels themselves, due to how many can be there that are worth it, due to orientation. The big issue is getting the power from there down to where it has to go. So the cost of putting the panels up there, we wouldn't save anything. There would be a large expenditure to do it with very minimal savings, if any. The payback period when they looked into it last was like 30 years or something. There just isn't, because we don't pay taxes. So we don't get any tax benefit from it. On the ones that are going on the cottages, there's an entity, a company that's doing it. They're going to own them. They're going to get the tax depreciation. The energy, the power that they generate for each cottage, we pay less than we would pay if we were paying Central Hudson. So there will be a savings each year for that. So it makes it worthwhile. But for the rest of the building, it's just there's not a viable economic reason to do it currently. Correct. Every year, every couple of years, that technology changes, right?
Tom, we're going to go to Trina and then Ms.
All right.
Gillespie.
Are there any considerations about building a roof over a parking area
That-
as a solar collector?
That has come up quite often, and it's the same thing. Is it doable? Yes. Is it cost effective? No. It just costs too much. There's no benefit. Like for the amount that it would cost to do it, you're not gonna save anything close to it in electricity. It's just not. And the companies, we've opened it up to several entities, several engineering firms, several solar firms, whereas we said, here, like we're like a blank slate. Take a look at the whole property. And it's just numerous people have just said that it just there's no financial appetite to do it. There's no reason. They just can't, it won't pay for itself.
I have a question with regard to the fire alarms. What would be the situation if you're in the elevator when that goes off?
You'll hear it.
Does the elevator stop or continue to the next floor?
The elevators and if there's a fire alarm, the elevators all still work unless the alarm is coming from a smoke head near one of the elevators. Then that elevator stops. It will go to the home floor. It'll go to the home floor that is, but only if it's one of those heads that are right near the elevator.
Tom, I have a question for you. I've raised this question before. Why is it necessary to have the fountain going 8 feet in the air when it's raining and you're concerned with cost? There is no public health advantage. All the public health requires is that you have a running water to prevent the growth of insects such as mosquitoes.
I would say when it comes to the timing the fountains run and the height of the fountains, if I were to ask any 4 people, I'm going to come out with 5 opinions. So I would say I'm going to direct you to the Plant Operations Committee. And in that group, we can discuss what the timing should be, everything about the fountains. And that way I can set the height and the time to whatever the desire is. Right now, they run on a time that when we last discussed it in the plant committee, that the plant committee agreed to. So I think the Plant Operations Committee would be the best venue to talk about that. And whatever the opinion is, we can set it and change it. All right. All right. Long as I'm here, let's go real quick. Then I want to talk about a couple things we're installing at Woodland Pond that'll be new for us. All right. The first one, we're going to be installing cameras, security cameras. We currently don't have a system. This is a rather crude markup I did of my red marks here, but we're going to be putting security cameras There'll be one right at the entrance, coming in by Concierge that'll get that whole area. There'll be another one right inside Concierge that'll see that whole lobby to include the desk. Same thing over at reception. There'll be one that'll get that parking lot and it'll get anybody coming in or out the main exit. Same thing, it'll be right inside and it'll get the reception desk. I mean, the reception desk as well as the reception over in Health Center. There'll be one over sort of by the generator, which will get the whole loading dock and everything over there. And there'll be another one way up high on the south wing that will get Danskin Way or anybody coming in and out of there. All of these cameras will be viewable at reception and at Concierge 24/7. We'll have the ability to watch this at offsite. So if Michelle wants to see something happening while she's home, she can just log on and see it. The police will have the ability to log on at any time and see everything, whatever they want to see. It will hold 30 days worth of recording. So if something happens, we can go back in time and look. Also, before we signed to do this, we went over this with the local police who are very happy and very supportive, of what we're doing. So this is, this will be a new thing. I expect it to all be operational in 2 or 3 weeks. By the end of the week, we should have all the wiring done. So it'll be a big thing for us to have this new capability. The system will also allow for future expansion if we, so desire. But this is going to be a big advancement forward. The other thing that we're doing, and it can.
Tom, hold on. You've got questions on the cameras.
All right.
Thank you. What is motivating you to do this?
Your safety.
Is there, has there been a problem?
No, there has not been a problem that, gee, it's a problem, so we have to hurry up and do this. No. 2 things. One, we don't want to wait for that problem. There have been issues in the past where, somebody hit my car and, if I could see that, that'd be great. Things like that. But it's just more of, and what Cameron's going to talk about is the upcoming drill we're having, the upcoming multi-agency drill in October. So what that's doing and an outcome of that drill, even before the drill, is making us think different about how prepared we are and what we need to do. So this is an outcome of that thinking of, gee, if we had some cameras, because the way it's going to work is there's some people in the room who are the people who they're working with to be the actors of ill intent. Then there's other people in the room who are going to be here to make sure that we swat them away. So we need to be as prepared as possible so that Rob does not do better than Tom. This is really what's driving this. So that's the idea. So, sorry.
Lionel.
2 questions. Who'll do the monitoring of will there be full-time monitoring of the
No.
cameras?
No.
And are signs going up outside telling the public that they're being watched?
No.
Why not?
A couple things. Let me answer one at a time. The ability to watch the videos will be 24/7, but will somebody be there watching them? No, because it sort of goes in with last question. We don't have a reason. I don't need to have somebody watching them unless something happens. Or unless we're expecting something or something or if there's a reason. As to whether or not we're going to put signs up, I'm going to say right now, we don't have a hard, concrete answer, but right now we don't plan on it. No.
That's something we can talk to Chief Lucchese about,
Right.
What he recommends.
Right.
There's no legal requirement to do that. And there might be some strategy to not do that, but we can talk to Chief Lucchese
Yeah.
of the police department to see what
Right.
he recommends regarding that. Now, we can also talk to Jason and Tom about, we do have 24-hour security that sits at reception. Maybe because they'll have the camera access there at reception, maybe while they're there at night, maybe we just have them have it up.
Right,
At least
right.
at nighttime.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we don't have any active risk right now. This isn't in response to a risk. This is all just coming out of preparedness that's
Right.
coming from the planning for this drill.
Right.
You want to move on to the next?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go to the
Next
next
item.
The next thing we're adding. Then you might be asking, all right, so Tom, what happens when somebody with evil intent comes in concierge and we need to call somebody? Well, we're also adding panic buttons underneath the desk so that if like an active shooter type person happens to come in and they're so rude as to not introduce themselves and sign in, and they're in a hurry, then at least the concierge can push a button or reception, and that will instantly notify the police that we have an emergency situation. It will also instantly disable all of the exterior doors. Your badges won't work. The only badges that will work are the ones that we've already given the police. They can get in. You can still get out. It's not locking the doors closed. It's just preventing anybody else from coming in. Like if there was an active shooter situation and Artie wasn't here and he came in during it, it wouldn't be good. So at least we lock the door so Artie can't get in during that situation. Only the police can. The other thing it's going to do is, and I forgot to write that down, is it's going to close all the fire doors. All the fire doors through all the hallways are going to close. Kind of like, and what Michelle was saying before, and Ms. Cameron will come up and talk about, in an active shooter situation, there's some things that you can and should do, and there'll be some training provided. But one of them is to make it as hard as possible for that person to get around. So if all the fire doors close, it just adds another wrinkle. It just adds another thing to prevent them from getting around. The fire alarm will not activate. When they push the panic button, the fire will close. The fire alarm will not activate. So it's just a level, it's just something that we can do again, so that I don't know what they're planning on October 4th. But if they come through and give us a little warning, we can push the button and we can be, again, we don't want Rob to win.
Okay, I'm coming over Lionel, and I've got Bill. I think I saw Phil Kissinger. I got Artie.
Now, I would imagine that if an intruder came in and there was a perceived threat, you would want people to lock themselves in their apartments, but they can't do it unless they know that there's this threat. If the fire alarm went off, they would lock themselves in their apartment. And
No. And
I mean, I would.
well, yeah, a couple things. We are not going to that quickly be 100% prepared for every event. And we have incrementally gotten better each year and each time we do something. A few years ago, we had our first active shooter drill with the police. We identified some things to work on. We did. We had another one a few months ago. Some items were identified and we're doing that. So we don't want to say that we're going to be 100% ready to cover every situation. We're not, but we are going to be markedly better in a few weeks than we are right now. We're much, much better than we were 2-3 years ago. 2 or 3 years from now, we'll probably be better than we are now. So it's, when we do it incrementally, and also it's not like we're doing any of this by ourselves. We're doing it with a great deal of participation and cooperation from police and emergency services. So, the idea that, and so like just simple a thing like they don't want the fire alarm going off in an active shooter situation. You know, so that's why we're doing it, so that it doesn't. So, you know, and it's not like I'm trying to, you know, I just, I could be up here talking about it all day. So let's just, you know, for now, any other questions?
Yes, the locked doors, will they impede fire department response? Is that a problem?
The fire department also have access cards.
And-
But currently, right now, the
Or-
way that it's
or you
going.
didn't say access cards for the fire department. That's why I was asking.
Right, but currently, right now, the only way it's going to be set up is the police will get in. And that is as they request. Right,
Okay.
right, because their main concern in an active shooter situation is neutralizing that threat as soon as possible. I'm gonna, you know, I will ask them again, you know, to clarify if they want the fire department access or not. But they were, you know, this was at their request.
Tom, is anybody on the campus always armed?
No, that's nobody on the campus is armed. No.
No. No.
Just a quick observation first. Everything that you've said so far pertains only to the main buildings, not to the cottages. I don't necessarily expect an answer on that, but just something to keep in mind. Second, there are, besides the standard exterior doors, which our cards normally operate, but wouldn't in this instance, there are, I don't know how many, but quite a few ground floor apartments with patio entrances. And I've heard nothing that indicates that an active shooter or some other individual can't gain access that way.
Very correct. And again, it goes to, you know, I don't, but I'm not standing here saying that, gee, what we're doing is covering everything 100%. It's just that we're getting better.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, I don't really have a good answer for every individual apartment, no.
Right. I mean, that's sort of standard personal security protocol.
Right.
Just like we would always recommend that you should all be keeping your exterior doors locked at all times for general safety, and your interior doors, you don't always do that now, but that's sort of standard safety protocol. All right, I think that's enough
Yep.
on that, because I want to get through Amy and Rob and Jason and then move to Cameron so that she can start talking about the drill stuff. Can
Okay.
you guys go pretty quickly? Okay.
Hello, I'm Amy McIntyre, the dining director. Okay. Quick. I went to the dining committee and we wanted to remind everybody that the pub is open on Saturdays from 12 to 2. We do not have the grill open, but we are having soup of the day, and we also have the Simply to Go cooler. It was brought to my attention that sometimes at noon, there's some sandwiches, and then by 12:30, they're all gone and they're not being replenished. We're working on that. So if anybody got discouraged by going to the pub on a Saturday afternoon and there was no cold sandwiches, we have definitely righted our wrongs. So it's just so anyone knows, it's just, you know, we have complimentary coffee 24/7, but it's just so everybody knows the pub is open for soup and cold sandwiches Saturdays from 12 to 2. Okay. Barbecue. We're going to do another barbecue the week of August 7th. I just haven't decided what day yet. I got to talk to Jared about scheduling, because a lot of our cooks, I have 2 cooks on vacation. They're both in Florida. I hope they're hotter than we are. So I'll figure out what day is best for us, and I'll definitely get it out this week for you so we can all plan. And I promise, last time we did ribs and chicken, and I'll do something fun this time. Maybe we can do some of those burgers out on the grill. On Tuesday, I'm excited because I'm pairing up with the Alzheimer's Association. We're doing the executive breakfast. We're calling it the bottomless breakfast. Cameron just said for me to mention it to you. Our numbers are a little low. And we would like to see a huge turnout. I know watching Rob and Tom serve you eggs is exciting. And I will be there. And that being said, also, Cameron is telling me that you're going to learn some fun facts about us. So I've told Cameron a lot of secrets, so it'd be worth it just to come and find out secrets about me that Tanya hasn't already told you. Okay. And last but not least, well, I need a favor. If any of you, this is crazy, but if any of you out there have any china or silverware from the dining room that just happen to have come into your rooms or cottages, apartments, and God only knows how it got there. Just no questions asked. Could you return it to us? I was doing the panel luncheon today and I was counting teaspoons and cups and Jared was like screaming. And I said, I'm going to say something at the Q&A today. No questions asked. Just love if you could bring them back to us just in case somebody stored something in your apartment on accident. Thank you. Getting to know your neighbors. You all know that the welcome committee came to the dining committee and pitched doing 2 times a month, doing something called getting to know your neighbors. The idea is you just pick your reservation time. You come at that time and you pick a number out of a cup. The number is your table number. Couples do not need to be separated, although it's kind of fun when you are. The idea is that we have 1 in 3 residents in the last year, or 2 years are new. Okay, so the idea is getting to know new people or getting to know people that have been here for 12, 13 years that you've never sat with. We had a lot of fun. I had my daughter Ella here. I made peach cobbler and I danced at every single one of your tables. So I did. I may have done the jig. That being said, we have a lot more reservations. A lot of people are apprehensive because they just didn't understand. If you have gone, please advocate for that night. We had so much fun. It's just getting to know your neighbors, meeting and having socialization. That's why we came here. I have met so many wonderful people since I started at Woodland Pond. All right. Other than that, I have nothing more. Any questions for me quickly?
Coming to Ms. Forenbach first and then you, Doctor. Hang on.
That was the quickest one I've ever done.
Oh, I really wanted to go to the ice cream socials,
Yes.
but you don't have lactose-free ice cream. Is there any chance you can get a small amount of that, a half gallon or something?
I absolutely have lactose-free ice cream. Anybody in the
I was
group?
told you didn't have it.
We probably just didn't have it that day. I definitely have it. Jared brings in vegan ice cream. We have 2 kinds usually, and that's just naturally dairy-free. So yes, Ina. Oh, we're out of it. Oh, well, Jared's in trouble. All right, that's probably what happened, but we'll give Gillette Creamery a call. And for the next time, we'll definitely have it for you. That was just a fluke. All right, any other questions for me?
My question, I know you're doing your best to improve the services, but why does one have to wait 24 hours to order a sandwich to be delivered or bagel and lox? These foods do not have to be prepared. They don't have to be cooked. And why should we wait for 24 hours if you order a sandwich? If you're half an hour later for you, you can get it delivered.
Okay, are we talking about room service to go for the next
Yes,
day?
room service.
Okay, so we have it's the service in place. It was here way before me. So a lot of times with these situations, I like to look at this, the process, because this was in place before I got here. The idea is that you all order room service. I believe it's by 1 o'clock. Am I correct? But I also know a lot of you forget and go to Ruth and she just slides you right in. I also know Ruth makes extra of everything and gives you meals when you forgot to order. So that being said, at the pub has a Simply to Go cooler that is full of cold sandwiches. At the bistro, we serve cold sandwiches between 12 and 2 that you can order to go. So the room service takeout does have, I believe there's maybe 2 cold sandwiches on that a day. You guys would know better than I do. Those are the only sandwiches that require that 24-hour time period. But since you've brought it up to me, let me just look at the process better. But I know at this point, you do have other avenues to get a cold sandwich within 20 minutes, meaning the pub and the bistro. Because I have full cold cuts and egg salad and tuna salad every day in my bistro. And I bring in boar's head. You all know that, right? Okay. Any other questions for me? Ooh. Oh, my pleasure.
I don't dance. Hi, I'm Robert Dunn, Director of Environmental Services. I'm going to touch quickly on 3 things. One, we had talked about composting with some of you out on the outer wings on north, central, and south. We will be, with the pest control issues that's caused with this humid, muggy summer, We're going to switch to twice a week, which started this week pickups, just because of the pest issues that that's creating. We did ask, if you can keep your composting in there in your apartment as long as possible before you put it out on those pickup days. All right, so they're going to be coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays to pick it up. All right, so if you put it in Wednesday night or Monday night, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too, but we're just trying to eliminate the pest control issues that's happening. Just because of this wet, muggy weather, it's been much worse for pest issues this year. Number two, I do want to thank you. We are 100% scheduled and finished with our annuals. All right, by the end of next week, we'll have everybody done. And I know Carrie's already started on the next go around to get annuals completed. All right, so there's a few of you left that are on the schedule in the next week and a half or so, and then we'll start turning those over. But I really want to thank Carrie for getting that accomplished this year. The annual crew's been fantastic in just knocking them all out and getting that completed during COVID. So thank you for that and the staff that got that done. Any questions on the composting? Go ahead, Ina, before I move on to my last thing.
Couple of weeks ago at North, I was waiting for a ride and I noticed two four-legged creatures, rats, come out to go to the compost.
Yeah, there's pests all over this place. We do have, bait stations located around the premises. Pest control monitors them twice a month. So they come around and check that even in the heat. But yes, there's always going to be pest controls here. When you put a facility dead smack in the middle of the woods, it's really their home you're living in. We're not living in, we live in theirs. So, but it's tough to, keep up in that. But when you see things, report things as soon as possible.
I did, but I noticed that it seems to be nothing had been done.
No,
so.
he goes to those base stations that are along the foundation. Occasionally you'll see a gray or a black box around the foundations. That's where we do that. And then also adding that second pickup in the summer times to the composting. So it's not sitting there for a whole week just waiting for all the critters in the neighborhood to come visit. You know what I mean? That's why I asked if you could keep it in your apartment as long as possible, put it in the freezer. So if it's frozen, it's not warm and decomposing like right then and there. That would be helpful. Go ahead.
Rob, I just want to thank you on behalf of the Health Center for our beautiful new furniture that's out on the porch. If anyone wants to go over and see it, all the pillows match and we have the new stuff put together. So it looks lovely. Thank
Good.
you. And
Enjoy
thank
it.
everybody that had a part in it.
I assembled it with my Swiss Army knife. No, it was the maintenance department. They got that done rather quickly. So thanks to them.
Next question.
Sure.
What time on Tuesday and Thursday are they picking up compost?
Compost can vary anywhere from, they show up because wherever the truck's coming from on their route. I've seen them come as early as 10 a.m. and as late as 4 p.m. Yesterday it was, I think, 4:19. They shoot me an email, send me a picture if it's contaminated, but I get an email as soon as they're finished and confirmation. So if you can get it out, preferably the night before would be fine. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and Michelle, I know mentioned it in her address yesterday, we're going to try this year. We're going to skip the window cleaning this year for water conservation, and we will add that on next year and see how things goes. All right. It's not like, if you spill your coffee on your window, call us, we'll come clean it. That's different, but the general window cleaning company that comes, they do use our water and they do use a lot of water to do that process. So let's see how that goes. And, we'll see what happens next year. Okay. Any questions for me? Thank you, everyone.
I'll be quick. I know they want to talk. I'm Jason Irish, Director of Concierge and Communication Services. First thing I'll say is I'm glad everyone showed up today. We were jamming chairs in here late. When we finish today, make sure everyone takes their time getting out. There's a lot of chairs near the door over here. I just want to make sure everyone gets out okay. Again, I'll be quick. First thing I want to say is transportation. Everything's been going great. We've been doing great this summer. For outings, tonight we have an outing to the Vanderbilt Mansion for the West Point Band. For any outings, we do the sign up in advance. With those signups, remember that when you sign those sheets, you're responsible for the tickets. Tonight's a free trip, so I'm not talking about tonight, but trips that we have tickets for, you're responsible for those tickets when you sign up for the trip. There's also a bus fee that goes along with that. It's a $7 bus fee for most outings. New Paltz, for the hiking trips, we disregard those. And we always want people to show up on time. We're doing our best to leave on time. So if we set the departure time for 1:30, we want everyone there before 1:30 so we could leave on time. I know we've had a few incidents where we've been waiting on residents and we've been late for a couple trips. So we just want everyone on time for those. Medical appointments, if you have to make a medical appointment or if you have a medical appointment that you need transportation to, give us the appointment 72 hours in advance. We'll give you the departure time the day in advance, and everything should go smooth. If you have any questions, you could always call me or the concierge desk. And that goes for anything. If you have a question about anything, if you see anything outside, or if you see something in the hallway, you need to put in a work order, call the concierge desk. We'll put in the work order. We'll take care of it. We'll notify maintenance. I'll mention this quick. I don't know if Tom wants me to say this. I know we're talking about the fire, or we're talking about the active shooter or potential active shooter drill. One thing Tom and I learned when we went to this conference is there's never too many 911 calls. We sit in an office, most of us walk around the building a little bit, but residents are around much more than we are. So if you see something that's out of the ordinary, you see something or somebody with a gun or anything crazy, call 911. Call the concierge desk, call 911. The more calls, the better. We want to nip whatever is happening in the bud as quick as possible. We haven't talked about that. We haven't discussed it. I just thought of it and I thought it was a good idea. Hang on, Maddie. I'll give it to you. Hang on.
Well, I don't need this to ask you a question, but if you live in a cottage in the last couple of weeks, there have been people showing up in the backyards that are not wearing Woodland Pond jackets or anything. Is there some way you can warn us if people are coming?
That may be some of the new staff.
It's also what Rob referenced before, the guy checking for the vermin traps in the back. I know the orchid guy was in my backyard.
The pest control, I can address that when he does do the cottages, because you all have bait stations along the back of your cottages like the facility does. He shows up twice a month. I can't say the time, because it's random based on their schedule. I can't say he's going to be here at 8 a.m. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's after lunch. It really depends on their schedule. And if he does show up, I can't call 24 cottages to get that out there, but he's wearing an Orkin shirt. So he's identifiable. He's not just walking around in a t-shirt and whatever. So you'll see it's the Orkin guy in his truck. He'll be parked somewhere there.
Well, the other people that could be around your cottage is Central Hudson or the electricians. And if you see the Central Hudson guy, hold him, don't let him go, and call me. We're having a little bit of issue with Central Hudson right now with telling us where to get the power from for the new cottages. So not only, I don't know when he's coming, and I wish I did. So if you see him, them,
offer him some breakfast, have him sit down and call Tom.
All right, last thing I'll say, and then I'll pass it off to Cameron. If anyone has a technology need, we have Ryan here on staff who helps residents with any technology need, whether it's computer, television, telephone, cell phone, whatever you need. Let us know. I also want to thank Bill Toole and the rest of that resident group of technology assistants for helping out for simple fixes. I know I'm not mentioning other names, but Mr. Toole helped us earlier this week, and I thank you and thank that group a lot. So yeah, we do have plenty of people to help if you have any issues. Again, if your TV goes down, anything, don't hesitate to call and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Any questions for me before I pass it off? Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Ilgner. I have quite a bit of information to talk to you about today, so I apologize. Most of it has to do with the emergency exercise that's been referenced all day today. A lot of important things to talk about there. But before we get into that, I just wanted to go through a few other things. The first thing is you may have heard about Verizon coming on site for cellular plans. We've had Anthony, who works in one of their branches, here a few times. He's helped a number of you with different scenarios in terms of your plans, whether it be on your own, with your spouse, or with your family. We are actually going to be introducing something new that is similar to what we do with Spectrum for your cable, internet, and phone. This will be more so a business plan, but rather than it being actually through, the business, it will be for us as residents, or you rather. So this will be a set plan that you have the ability to take advantage of. It will be the Woodland Pond plan, where we can have endless amount of attendees who use this. It will be a set price, and taxes will be dependent on the amount per line that we have. So there's more information on how this works, but if anybody's interested, please put your name at the interest list with Concierge. There will be a informational meeting next Tuesday at 10:30 in the classroom. So we're going to start off with an informational meeting for anybody who might be interested in doing this. And from there, you can ask any questions that you wish, and then he will make appointments as each person is interested. So please save that date if you're interested in the Verizon plan.
Hold on one second.
Cellular. It's for cellular, by the way.
Does that apply, like, if somebody has AT&T, could they come to that? and
Yeah,
maybe
so this
switch?
is for Verizon specifically, but even if somebody uses a different carrier, you can switch using this.
So I've already talked with, what was his name, the fellow from
Anthony,
Verizon.
yep.
So, and I got a lot of information from that. So is this a separate thing, or in addition, so should I also go to this meeting in addition to the hour that I already spent with him?
That's up to you. We still are finishing working out the details with him. So if I were you and this is something that you think you'd like to pursue, I would go to that meeting as well.
So, okay, so that's a requirement for participation in this plan?
It's not a requirement, but it's definitely helpful so that he can just explain it once so that everybody can hear each other's questions instead of having individual meetings with other people.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, this is for cellular only. If you would like phone service as a landline, you still would need to use Spectrum. So the next thing is Adopt a Highway. I'm working with the Land Conservation Committee. Dave Smith and we started this new initiative to have Woodland Pond represent a section of the highway on 299 with Adopt a Highway through the Department of Transportation. We had the executive team and the Land Conservation Committee there for the first cleanup. We've planned to do one cleanup per quarter. So now we're actually onto our second quarter next month. So that will be on August 28th from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. If anybody's interested in participating, we're opening it up to all staff and all residents. We can have an unlimited amount of people who are interested, but we don't need a whole lot. So we'd like to keep it at around 20 people between staff and residents. So if you're interested, you can reach out to Dave or I, or just submit your interest with Concierge. I would like to say thank you to the task force that I've been fortunately working with for the resident handbook. I know I mentioned this a few Q&As ago, but we've been working diligently on revising the handbook. There's a lot of different things that I've been asked to update, revise, and kind of just make clear as to things that may have changed since the previous handbook edition. So stay tuned because we'll be having a new edition coming out soon. And, if anybody has any questions or concerns, you can come see me again. All right, we'll talk about Alzheimer's. I know that we've had a lot of questions in regards to why are we working with the Alzheimer's Association. This is something that Michelle has addressed in her weekly YouTube videos, the newsletter we've tried to address it in. Ultimately, the reason why Woodland Pond has chosen to work with the Alzheimer's Association is because of our population. Alzheimer's and different dementias are the leading cause of death in those 65 years and older. And not to mention the Alzheimer's Association has a whole list of different opportunities and services that they're able to provide to a place like us, which they do. they have in recent years helped us with using different resources and services to help our residents. And now that we are becoming more active with them, they also are providing more and more of those. So as those come, please check out the Chanticleer in the newsletter and addresses to find out what it is that we're receiving from the Alzheimer's Association. Now with that, I've heard a lot of comments about how the Alzheimer's Association is very active and, it quote unquote is a bit, in some people's faces. And for that, I do apologize. However, I'm working with a very energetic group who is willing to put forth a lot of fundraising efforts and are very motivated to make a difference. And for that, I'm appreciative. We have set a goal of $15,000 to raise by the walk, which is October 14th. So mark your calendars. To donate that to the Alzheimer's Association. It certainly is not easy, but we can only do it through the help of our community of residents and staff and families. So we have a whole number of different fundraisers that we have done and that we're continuing to do from now until October. So does anybody have any questions about Alzheimer's? No? Okay. All right. So let's get into the emergency exercise. October 4th is when we'll be having this emergency exercise. The intent of the emergency exercise, as Tom was explaining, is to grow our preparedness as a community in the event that something like this could happen. Because as much as we don't want to think about it happening here or anywhere, the sad truth is that it happens sometimes. So the only way that we can be prepared is by doing different drills and doing different exercises and implementing great things that Tom and Michelle are working on to protect our residents and staff and families from this type of event. Us doing this emergency exercise is what we are calling it, is a tool that is used for Woodland Pond, but it's also used for the greater community. So something of this magnitude that is being planned, which is, like I said, an emergency exercise, is the largest event that we're planning in Ulster County to date. And I say that not to scare anybody, but rather to appreciate the fact that we're putting in the work in order to have a tool of this magnitude so that from the outcome, we're able to put different things in place to protect our community. It will be on October 4th. We are not explaining the details as to what it will be. However, all you need to know is that it will be a lockdown drill. Tom will be going through specifics as to what is expected from residents and staff. But we also will be having an emergency preparedness presentation from the Ulster County Department of Emergency Services. So that will be on August 7th at 2 o'clock. August 7th at 2 o'clock in the pack right here. So above all the dates that you've heard today, that's a really important one to not miss out on. Yeah, that's on the calendar and it's that's August 7th. Who's had a question? Yep, so that's August 7th at 2 p.m. That'll be, announced as time goes along, so you'll get reminders, but it's right here, August 7th at 2 o'clock. And then the emergency exercise is another 2 months from that on October 4th. So again, more communication will be expressed from now until then. A few things that we wanted to make clear now is that there will not be any access allowed into the building from the time that the drill starts until it ends. The drill will last around 4 hours, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, but 4 hours is right around that sweet spot. So if anybody has any medical appointments scheduled for that day that can be postponed, we ask that you please reschedule them now. If you have a medical appointment that cannot be, then we ask that you please make arrangements to not be coming back onto campus afterwards. Woodland Pond transportation will not be active that day unless it's for an emergency. So of course, if there's some type of event that, EMS needs to come in for whatever reason, then that will be allowed. That goes for guests and families and companions as well. So please make sure that you communicate this with your families and, aides or companions that you may have so that they are aware. What am I missing about this one? Does anybody have questions?
Start in the front, work our way back.
Cameron, some of these active shooters have planned well in advance what they're going to do. And if one came to Woodland Pond and planned it, they would very likely show up at dinner time and try to get into the dining room. And it's just residents in there. We are armed with, it's like going to a gunfight with a pocket knife. What do you recommend we do?
I would say that question and a lot of others, let's hold. And then on August 7th, when the gentleman from OEM is here, he'd be the person to ask. Short of that, you know, sort of like Michelle said, and we'll be rolling stuff out to you too about, you know, what to do as far as, you know, hide or leave or things like that. And there will be some things to do. But the best thing to do is just ask that gentleman on August 7th. I forgot his name, Mike.
Yeah, so just, I guess I didn't explain this and I'm sorry. Basically, what this emergency exercise is that you're hearing about, basically, Rob and I are working with this gentleman named Mike, who is the head of the Department of Emergency Services at Ulster County Sheriff's Department. We're working with him and another gentleman who kind of spearhead these types of events that they plan on purpose for training purposes. So we're working with the two of them in conjunction with Rob Lucchese, who's the chief of police at New Paltz, the fire chief, we have the EMS chief, and the state police. So we're involving all of the different municipalities that are in the area that would respond to an emergency event of this nature. So all of them obviously are seasoned professionals in what they do. So I think that a lot of you may like to hear that Mike is the one who's doing this emergency presentation on August 7th.
I have a question. On October 4th, if we're here, do you want us to stay in our apartment for the 4 hours?
So wherever you are will depend upon what you do. And that's what we'll talk about on August 7th. Okay.
Thank you.
We're not canceling activities. Nothing will be canceled that day. So I don't want people to assume that from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you need to shelter in your apartment, because that's not the case. Because in order for us to truly express and exercise and gain full benefit, we want the campus to run as it typically does. And, you know, like I said, I don't want anybody to be scared, because this is used as a tool. So people can function as they typically do. I just made the notice about the transportation because we don't want anybody getting injured or, running into a situation where we can't fully express the drill. It's on a Wednesday.
Maybe I misunderstood, but the doors are going to get locked and we won't be able to use our badges to get in?
Correct.
What if we're walking our dogs? Now that is an emergency. Will we know beforehand when it starts so we can walk our dogs?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, you'll know the day. We don't know the time. So plan accordingly. And we want this to be authentic as possible. We don't want everyone to just disappear on October 4th, and we don't see any of you.
We're not
until
going to
the
make an
afternoon.
announcement to say everybody heads up. Yeah. So
It's gonna
I
be-
would say on that day, be extra cautious as an extra responsibility of having a dog.
Right. And we want this to be authentic for the entities as well, because they're learning just as much as we are here, as Tom is going through all his procedures when he loses to me in the end. He's got to go through a lot of stuff, but they're learning just as much as we are.
And with that, what Rob just said, they are tremendously excited about having this emergency exercise here because of the way that Woodland Pond is. I'm sure most of you know that it is a maze to navigate, and it is to no end going to be a challenge for a lot of these personnel who haven't been here over 10 times. Let's just say that. So I think it'll be a tremendous tool for them to use. So with that, we're trying to equal it out from our benefit and theirs.
I won't be here on August 7th, but so I'm asking now, August.
Oh, okay.
For this August meeting. if we are walking our dogs and the doors, we can't get back in, where do we shelter in place for 4 hours?
It's good.
Good question for Mike. Yeah.
Right.
Right, and I think it's going to be very hard for everyone to plan for every specific scenario you're going to face. If you're walking along the cottages and you don't know, but then all of a sudden you see all the police show up, stop on that person's cottage. You know what I mean? Find the closest place for to knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, just let me in. You know what I mean? I think it's happening. You know?
And Ina, even though you won't be there on August 7th, all of these different scenarios of what could happen, every minute little detail will not be figured out before this day. But again, the purpose of us doing this is so that if there is an emergency and if something like this were to happen here, then we would have the tools and these types of questions would arise from this drill. So then we can be prepared for next time. So not that we don't want everybody to be prepared for this exercise, but these are the things that we really want to start talking about and figuring out so that, again, if something were to happen, we're prepared.
Quick question, when you do shut down the badge locks and such, exterior badge locks, will the keys to those doors work?
Yes.
As far as personal appointments for medical reasons, a lot of us finding it 3 months to get an appointment. I'm not canceling.
That's fine. I just, I encourage. Which is totally fine and we respect that. However, we encourage you to come up with a plan in order to stay off campus until it's over because you won't be able to get back in. Dawn.
So Cameron, emergency, are we talking about more than an active shooter? I mean, what's the definition of the emergency that you're drilling for?
So basically, we aren't.
Nice try.
We aren't giving any type of details away. Like I mentioned, the point is so that Rob and I only know to work with the emergency personnel. However, it will be a lockdown drill. So it could be anything that would warrant a lockdown to happen.
How much did Tom pay you?
You know, it seems to me we have to look at this as if it's going to really happen, not think of our personal needs. I'm sorry about the dogs, but put them in the car or something. But as if this really happened, what would you do?
And that's why we're trying to find an even balance with this to make people prepared so that their whole day isn't flipped upside down. However, it needs to be as real in order for us to reap more benefits. So that's why we're trying to find a happy medium here. So thank you, Paul.
Personally, you're telling people too much.
Yeah, well.
So is this predictably first shift like between 8 and 5 or is there anything goes?
No comment.
Midnight to, oh.
No comment. Rob.
Nice
Trina
try.
over here.
Trina.
How will we know when to come back if we're outside somewhere?
So we
Will
would
there
do
be
it the
will there
same
be an
way.
alarm?
We would do the same way that as if there is an emergency or a notice that needs to be made. So we have the Sarah system that makes announcements. We have, how else, what are you even going to do it?
That's a good question. And one of the major ways is we have the mass notification system on the Sarah, which sends you a text message, email, or a phone call. If we don't have your correct information, you're not going to know. So make sure with a concierge has your correct cell phone numbers, email address, telephone numbers. so that you'll get the correct, so that you'll get the information.
To follow up on that, I wonder if you might want to collect information of those of us who could be alternate places to stay. If you're out, those of us in the cottage or maybe people on the ground floor, we can sign up to be a potential place and maybe buddy up. So if you have a dog, find a buddy in case you're out.
The problem with that is, what if there's a threat on the ground floor or within the cottages? So this could be subjective per place, wherever it is. So while I agree to what you're saying, Joy, it might be a positive way to come up with a buddy system that's a bit on a smaller scale. So we can think about things like that after the drill, but it's a good idea. 1 second.
If we have a system where we can notify all the apartments of, you know, then if the panic button is pushed, then why isn't a message sent to all the apartments that this is happening so people can stay in their apartments?
We do have a mass notification system. It will be used that day. We would use it just as we would use it as if this wasn't an exercise and this is what happened in real time. Tom?
I think this is supposed to be as realistic a drill as you can get. Okay. If you're outside, there's going to be emergency personnel all over this place. You go to the emergency people and you ask what you can do. If you're outside walking your dog, ask for help. I'm sure they're going to have, I'm sure anytime there's an emergency situation, there are people who are caught outside. And you go to the people who are there, who are here to help you and get it taken care of. But they want a realistic situation. They don't want something that's controlled.
Exactly. And, you know, ultimately we can't learn on what to do unless we do these types of things. And as much as it would be nice to have everybody right in their apartment and stay put and not do anything all day to avoid the chaos is what's going to teach us. So while we're not trying to make this an explosion of an exercise, we're still trying to do something that can teach us what to do. And when when Tom, Jason, and I were in Saratoga at a conference in May, we specifically went to an intensive in regards to an active shooter drill. At this, the fella who put it on and has a whole company around this type of work explained a whole slew of different facets of, you know, instructions and strategies to follow. So I just want you to know that we're not just putting this on, we're using professionals in order to do this.
Well, as a community, we certainly seem to be our most vulnerable in the dining room, as already been stated. And please, I hope nobody's going to tell us to crawl under the tables, because if you picture that, 90% of us would be dead by the time we managed to get under the tables.
That won't happen, don't worry.
Any other questions? Okay.
Betsy, anything else?
So at the outset of the drill, you're going to send the Sarah system, whatever it's called, to announce it's beginning now.
Yep, just as it would happen if there was an emergency. Like, you know, if there's if you get a flooding notice, or if there's a fire alarm that went off, a lot of you will recognize that you get a notice to your email or your cell phone or your phone, your text message, whatever it is that you have listed there. Take that as a reference, because that's our mass notification system that will deliver these types of announcements to you. So as Tom and Rob were saying, if you need to update that, you should update it, because that's the most effective way to hear information. But yes, so October 4th, save the date. Please save the date for August 7th. It's extremely important that you're there if you're able. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to come see me at any time. It's fun doing this, so I'm excited for October 4th.
Thanks, Cam. Yeah, you're doing a great job. Yeah, this is gonna be great. And just to be clear, only Cameron and Rob know the scenario. None of the rest of us know what the scenario is. The only thing I want to mention is just, you guys saw my thing about the Healthy Connections form. You should all have them in your independent living cubbies. We need one per person. Okay, so if you're a couple, get that Healthy Connection form signed and handed in to concierge, and I will see you guys all soon. Thank you.